Hey, welcome to your Cancer horoscopes for the first week of October. No planets in Cancer until the end of the week as the moon comes into Cancer. You guys are moon babies, so I feel that a lot of the time when the moon comes into your sign, it's a little bit less difficult than it is for, say, other signs, for example, because the moon really is the place that you want to be. It's all about that sort of nurturing energy that the moon provides. And we still have Vespa with her nurturing energy as well. I mean, Vespa is the eternal flame that burns on the hearth. So in a way, there's the security of home there, or a sense of security from home there, or maybe wanting that sense of security from home there, which really lines up with the moon. And as the moon comes into your sign on Thursday, about midday, later on in the afternoon, moving into conjunction with Vespa, that security feeling is really going to be there big time, especially in your relationships, because this is where the moon is really focusing her energy as she first comes into your sign. And pardon me, and she moves into two major aspects as she's coming into your sign. The first is a T-square, a pretty big challenge, as she is squared with both Neptune and Mercury, and they are in opposition with each other. So that is a pretty big challenge there. Mercury's focus is on career, Neptune's focus is on the mind. Interestingly enough, Neptune is the planet of intuition, and it is all about where our intuitive abilities lie. And our logic is a very important place that our intuition lies, as a matter of fact. And if you're constantly worried all the time, or your brain power is being taken up with negative things, it's really hard to get those intuitive messages through. Trust me on that. I really did get kind of sort of lost in the shuffle in many ways, or it's hard for us to recognize that they are intuitive messages trying to get through all of this silliness that's going on in your head, which is difficult. It makes it difficult to form the relationships that you need in order to achieve your career goals. It makes it difficult for you to focus your energy on the right avenue in order to achieve those career goals. It does really make you second guess yourself a lot too, which really gets in the way a lot. Now, the moon is also formed a grand trine with Mars and Saturn at the same time as well, just for this one day. As a matter of fact, Mars also has energy going into your career, and Mars is a massive amount of energy going towards your career, with Saturn also focusing on the mind and how the mind works. In retrograde, remind you that the way that your mind works is absolutely 100% your responsibility and nobody else's. And while that seems like a no-brainer thing, most of us don't take control. We don't train our brain to speak the way we would like it to speak to us. We don't train our brain to not automatically go to that worry place where we continue the hamster wheel of, all the problems that we have to think about. And it is your responsibility to take control of that. And a lot of people have told me, that's just my brain, Melissa, that's how it works. Well, my brain is pretty active. Okay, I am an Aquarius. It is pretty active. And I have managed to take control over it most of the time. I would say 95% of the time. That other 5% is me forgetting to take control of it, which happens to all of us. I think it's not about making sure that you do it every day. It's about making sure that you do it most of the time, so that it's not making you crazy, if that makes sense. As we move into Friday, the moon moves into aspects that are not quite as spectacular, in good and bad ways, really. As the moon does continue a square, or actually moves into a square now, With Mars, we have that energy working for us yesterday. Now, all of a sudden, it feels like it's working against us. And the moon is right on the cusp of relationships and money. So we're talking specifically about our relationship with our finances, with Mars really heavily influencing your career. Now, this may be one of those situations where it just feels like the career choice is not really making you the money that you want, which is a pretty easy fix. A lot of times we think it's a hard one, but it's a lot easier than we think it is. Instead of thinking about it and mulling over it over and over and over, we just have to get up and do something about it. This one isn't working. Let's move on to another one. That's how you do that. We also have the moon in a sextile with Jupiter. Jupiter is retrograde and really focused on those you love. So all about family right now. And I feel like this financial security question definitely can be answered by some of those people that are in your family, the closest to you. Honestly, the people that are closest to you, most of the time, there are a lot of exceptions to this rule, but most of the time are the ones that have your best interest in mind. So, for example, I have a Cancer child. I have his best interest in mind. So I'm not going to lead him in a direction where I'm trying to use him in some way. And with cancers, you need a secure, safe place. So definitely turn to the people who are the most secure and safe for you, if that makes sense. As we move into Saturday and literally the very end of the moon being in your sign and the very end of the week as well, we have another T-square as the moon moves into opposition with Pluto and continues to be in a square with Mars. Pluto is focused on the past. Interestingly enough, I feel because the moon is really focused on finances now, that this dissatisfaction about your job that you may have felt before, Pluto's coming in to remind you not to repeat past mistakes, making sure that you are aware and that you are looking at this as, if this is something that just happened, giving it some time. If this is a repeated pattern, that's different. Obviously, this isn't working out, so you have to move on to something. But basically, it's a warning not to make judgments from an emotional place, if that makes sense, because a lot of times it just doesn't work out very well for us. We also have the moon in a grand sextile with Neptune as well as Jupiter. And this is an interesting aspect as well. Uranus is, I said Jupiter, but I meant Uranus. They're kind of right next to each other. Sorry. Uranus is focused right on the cusp of those you love, as well as your day-to-day schedule, while Neptune is focused on the mind and how the mind works. So there's a couple of things here. One, make sure that the people around you aren't influencing your plans in a negative way. Okay. You want people around you that are uplifting, that are helpful, that want to help you. You do not want people jumping on your bandwagon to see how far they can ride on it, if that makes sense. And this is not necessarily what this aspect is about, but it does remind you to be aware and make sure that your eyes are open to that, so you don't wind up having to deal with that situation when you weren't planning on it, if that makes sense. Also, I feel with Neptune's influence here, again, very strongly in that how the mind works, using your intuition in order to come up with the answers to those questions is actually easier than you think. It's not receiving the message, it's following the guidance. And our intuition always points us in a direction that we know we need to go in. It's our minds that second guess it to death and make it really, really difficult. So make sure that you're aware of which direction that you're going in. That's really going to help out a lot in the long run. So that's what I have for you guys this week. If you love your horoscopes, do click the link in the description and send me a coffee. I would love the support of that. If you are listening rather than watching, it's ko-fi.com/heavy metal psychic. Also check out heavymetalpsychic.com. It is going to be a completely new website in a couple of weeks. So go and check it out. See the old so you can be wowed by the new later on. I'm Melissa Bruce, the Heavy Metal Psychic. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys next week. And in the meantime, be productive and kick some butt this week, because I know you guys will do that. You guys have a great week. Make it a great week.